Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. I am Tony Gerdeman here, as always, with Tom or Tom. How's it going?
Tony, it's our bold prediction show, our weekly bold prediction show. And just right off the top, I just want to say I forgive you.
For?
Well, you told me we were doing a bold prediction show. You didn't tell me we were supposed to try and get our bold predictions correct. So I went for the first week because it was like, oh, I'll say a bunch of bold stuff. Yeah, no problem. So now that I know, because you were like, hey, you didn't do very well. I got 4 right. And I was like, whoa. We were supposed to be getting these right? Like, what? But you got to tell me this stuff up front when we're doing a new segment. But I forgive you. It's okay.
I never once apologized, Tom, and I'm not going to apologize. Frankly, if you didn't understand the rules, that's on you. You are an Apple customer. You know that you don't read the rules. You just go ahead and click on stuff, and bad things happen to you. And bad things happen to you. Tom, remind the listeners and the viewers exactly how many of your predictions did you get wrong?
Well, I mean, in fairness, I wasn't trying to get them right, so I really don't feel like I got them wrong per se, but I made 5 of them and none of them were correct, as it turned out. So, that's the good news is onward and upward, Tony. Only one way we can go from here.
That's not necessarily true. There are 2 ways. You can keep going the same way, continue to be 0 for 5.
That's true. That was what Randy Edsel thought after week 1. Like, this can't get any worse. It'll be fine. Like, oh no, it got worse. And now I'm fired. Whoops. So I'll tell you what, if I go 0 for 5 again, you can give me a $1.256 million buyout, just like Randy Edsel got. I'll let you do that.
No, Tom, I will keep you around forever as long as you continue to go 0 for 5, because that's just entertainment. That's all sports are. It's entertainment. And if you keep people engaged with your inability to get one single bold prediction correct in a game where you supposedly know stuff and you watch stuff, you talk to players, and your gosh, I don't want to say inability, your lack of ability to get predictions correct is, I think it's probably disappointing to the listeners. Funny, but also disappointing. Like, oh, yeah, it's funny, but it's kind of sad, but it's still funny.
Like a clown's funeral. That kind of that. Yeah, this is the clown funeral of our weekly podcast lineup. I like the fact that my access to players is supposed to help me. Like, I regret on Wednesday night not asking guys like, hey, how many interceptions you guys think you're going to have this week? Like, yeah, that's the kind of inside information that really would pay off for this. Like, if I told you over or under 112 rushing yards for you, what would you say? How are you feeling about that? You feeling good?
If you ask something like that, how quickly are you ushered out by security just because it sounds like a gambling question?
Yeah. You wouldn't even get to the question mark portion of it before Jerry or Mike would have a taser in your ribs. So yeah.
Like, Ryan, let's say, how comfortable do you feel about, say, over under, 41 and a half points,
Ryan, I know you guys feel like you got a pretty good team. Do you feel your team is better than 14 points, better than Oregon? Like, I mean, 14 and a half points is fine as long as you're rounding up there and going for 2 late in the game if necessary. Yeah.
I'm just going to raise my hand and nod when you think it's to the point where you would agree that, but so we do have some bold predictions, 5 each, and then we'll maybe throw in some extras that we have. Tom, I will let you go first. Yes, I have honors, but look, if we go by honors, you're never going to get to go first. So I will allow you to go first this time, and maybe I'll go first next time. Not because I lost the week, but just because we changed stuff up.
You have home field advantage. That's fine. We'll play it that way. I'm gonna take a little spin off of something you did last week. Last week you said that Tanner Morgan would have no more than 92 yards passing in the first half. I will do you not 1 better, but 2 better. Anthony Brown of Oregon throws for no more than 90 yards in the first half.
You think you're better than me?
2 yards better. Yes.
2 yards better. Okay. 90 yards, no more than 90 yards. I can, that means either things aren't going great, but he threw for like 180 against Fresno State, 190 some. So I don't know if it's terribly bold, but also they're going to get some yards. He's also a runner. So maybe if you're thinking, some of his yards are going to come via the ground. I will. I'm not going to call it bold because I may agree with it. Although if I agree with it, then it's definitely bold. So I'm a little torn here, Tom.
And 80% likely to be right based on last week. So feeling pretty good about that.
Although I do know better than to agree with you any of your bold predictions. So I need to rethink that as well. But I'm not going to disallow it. We don't disallow stuff here. We just mock it if we disagree with it or we think it's unbold. You should throw for more than 180 yards in the game. This is what, 1980, 2010, 2020. So yes, the offense has picked up. So, okay, I will allow it. And I'm not going to say, because that's not what the show's about. It's about being supportive.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I can tell. Keep going.
So my first one, Tom, and we'll see if you think this is bold. It's probably foolish or perhaps stupid, but sometimes you gotta swing for the fences. And so I am saying a safety will get an interception this week. Now, does that mean an Oregon safety or an Ohio State safety? Who's to say? Does that mean a bullet is a safety? Yes, it does. Does that mean Oregon's nickel back is a safety? Oh, it sure does. It means any non-corner defensive back, and possibly if a defensive end drops back on a zone blitz. I might qualify that one as well. But I think a safety will get an interception. I'm thinking it's Bryson Shaw, but I don't need to get too specific. It's a little fuzzy right now, but if it's Bryson Shaw, I called it. So that's where I'm going. I'm going to say a safety will get an interception in this game. Also, if they catch a fumble out of the air, that still counts.
Can I get a list, a comprehensive list of players you are considering safeties for the purpose of this exercise? Because that seemed overly broad to me. Like
the only player I do not consider a safety is Antoine Jackson. Because you have to consider Haskell Garrett a safety after what we saw him do last year and last week.
Yeah, literally, your prediction is literally anyone other than like Seven Banks has an interception. Good. Well, and it could be a fumble catch or a blocked punt. I can't help but notice now that this is a competitive venture, you are getting significantly less bold in these predictions. I can't help but notice that.
I think an interception from a safety, a legitimate interception from a safety or the nickel person, I think is pretty darn bold. And I think the listeners agree. And I can hear them agreeing.
So are we, so just so we're setting the state, Ronnie Hickman, Lathan Ransom, Bryson Shaw, Court Williams. Mm-hmm. Are you including Craig Young with the safeties?
I mean, he's a bullet. And if we're including Ronnie Hickman, you have to include Craig Young. I mean, I don't make the rules, Tom.
It seems like you do sometimes. That actually is how it seems. So, okay, I just want to make sure we're defining our terms here. That's fine. Because when Ryan Watts has look, he's a
6'3" corner. He is practically a safety. I think if you look at body type, we're talking a safety.
And I don't want they sack Anthony Brown in the end zone. It's like, well, look, that was a safety, and they intercepted the ball away from them, and now they're getting it back. Like, no, we're not.
The safety intercepted the possession. Ohio State has possession.
I just want to make sure we're defining our terms here. That's fine.
I think we did.
Okay. Next one. Ohio State both rushes and passes for 220 yards. Now, that doesn't sound like a crazy high amount because you always hear them talking about wanting to be 250 and 250. They only did that twice last year. Indiana and Clemson were the only games they actually did 220 yards rushing, 220 yards passing. So I think this is a week that they can do that. And you're probably going to, the theme there with Indiana and Clemson is you're playing a good team, but so you have to keep trying and you have to be balanced the whole game, but also you've got to be reasonably successful. Like they didn't do it against Alabama, and Alabama was a good team. So they didn't do it against Northwestern, and that game was pretty competitive for most of the game. So it's going to be a fairly competitive game. Ohio State should be able to move the ball reasonably well. So I think they both rush and pass for 220 yards. Thoughts?
I agree with you. And I was going to say, but they already did that once this season, but they didn't. They fell short of that 220 yards rushing. I think that will happen as well. And I think that's a good one. Is it bold? Like I said, I agree with it. So it must be. And it's something that they haven't done a lot. They've done it in the past more than, like in 2019, I'm just scanning. They did it the first two games, did it in the almost the first half of the season, but that was with Justin Fields. That was without COVID. That was also with J.K. Dobbins. So they had a lot of things going for them. Yeah, I like that. 220 yards passing and rushing. A bold thing if you were to say like they will get one of those numbers in the first half, like that would really bold. Would you care to maybe adjust your prediction?
Would you care to pick one safety who's going to have an interception? No? All right, let's move on to your second one.
Tom, we're not here to talk about the past. All right, let's talk about
it seems like we spent a lot of time talking about the past at the beginning of the show, but go on.
Let's talk about my second one. A true freshman will score a touchdown. Nope. A true freshman will score. You don't want to be specific, Tom. I'm just teaching you how to do this. You don't want to be specific on the type of score. Just leave it at score, because that can encompass a freshman getting a safety. It can encompass a true freshman kicking something or anything of that nature. And you don't even want to necessarily specify team. So you want to keep things broad. So I think a true freshman will score. Now, to be fair, will have to reach the end zone on their own. Like, be part of that and be responsible. The points will go to them, basically. So that's where I am. And that could be Travion Henderson. That could be one of the receivers. Really, that's what I was thinking of. Maybe one of the receivers. Or perhaps Denzel Burke pick 6, something like that. I don't think it would be totally outrageous, and I'm not predicting that. But again, if it happens, I called it.
Since all of your predictions seem to be thing that will happen in 90% of football games will happen in this game, I'm going to narrow you down to a few more specifics here. Mm-hmm. True freshman, class of 2021, not, actually, when you think about it, the guys from last year are still listed as freshmen. So true freshman, class of 2021, correct?
Or even early enrollees from the class of 22.
Okay. Yeah. You want to predict something bold? Predict that one. Give us an early enrollee from the class of 2022 doing something this weekend. That will be bold. And if a true freshman throws a touchdown pass to a upperclassman, that would not count, correct? Because that true freshman is not the one crossing the goal line,
right? And exactly, that's why he won't be responsible for the touchdown. I will take that one off the board. So
okay, and this is just Ohio State, because all the examples you provided were Ohio State. So this is just Ohio State.
Well, that's just because I don't know specifically all of the freshmen for Oregon, because they play a lot of upperclassmen. So no, I did not specify teams, and I will not specify teams. I don't want to, eliminate somebody's goodness from happening. I don't want to say, I want them to have an opportunity to partake in one of these bold predictions. I don't want to leave them out. I'm all inclusive here.
I think according to Oregon's media notes, 14 of their true freshmen participated in last week's game. So, you're basically, right? you're basically giving yourself, I don't know, like a quarter of the players who will play in this game will score a touchdown. On the scale of boldness, it is not. It isn't. This is down with like the honey garlic wings on the heat scale. There, you're looking up at medium, and medium's a couple spots above you. But okay, I guess I'll allow it this week. And if it's 4-0 again this week, I'm going to get a little stricter on how we're defining bold next week.
Irony.
All right, next one. At least 90 yards of total offense for Travion Henderson, which you're probably saying, come on, that's not that bold. He would be only the second true freshman at Ohio State since the start of the 2018 season to do it. Do you know who the only true freshman to have more than 90 yards of offense in a game for Ohio State since the start of the 2018 season is? Because there were a whole bunch of people I thought, I bet that guy did it. And the answer was nope.
Right. Just freshman or?
True freshman.
True freshman since 2018.
Start of the 2018 season. Unless I missed someone. There were a bunch that I thought, I bet this guy did it. And the answer was
Wilson?
No. Against?
Michigan?
Correct. Garrett Wilson against Michigan 2019. Yeah, there was a bunch of, I bet Chris Olave did it. No. Oh, I bet Marcus Crowley did it against Maryland. No. Like there were a bunch of guys in like 80, 85, 75. Only one person has done it since the start of the 2018 season. Travion Henderson will do it this weekend. 90 yards of total offense. And Tony, I'm not doing the Tony thing here. and saying we'll gain 90 yards and including kickoff returns and that in there.
Well, that's all-purpose yards, not total.
That offense. Is all-purpose yards, yes. So I am being a little more bold than you have been thus far. I'm not saying, someone's going to do something with a football and people are going to cheer. Like, no, this is at least 90 yards of total offense for Travion Henderson.
That's bold. I will give you that. That is a bold one. My sincere hope, however, is that he only carries the ball once and it's an 89-yard touchdown, thereby giving me my freshman touchdown and keeping you from your 90 yards of total offense. That is you can make that my Christmas and my birthday. If that happens.
I got to tell you, you picking something that happened literally last week and then being like, but not just for one guy, literally anyone on the field who enrolled this year.
It happened last week. It's not likely to happen. He's not going to score 12 touchdowns in the regular season. Like he's only going to score 4 tops.
I'm not sure you have a great grasp of how probability works, but okay, go ahead with your number 3. Here's my grasp of probability. This is probably going to be pretty weak. Go on.
Oregon will be held under 8 yards per carry. No, I'm kidding. Oregon will be held under 4 yards per carry. Now, I think they're like 3.9 or 3.8 per carry against Fresno State. However, Ohio State had some issues stopping the run against Minnesota. I think they will bow up and play better against the run, knowing that it's a different kind of running game. So they're going to have to tackle in space. We haven't necessarily seen them have to do that yet. So I'm going to assume they can, which increases the boldness of this, of holding Oregon under 4 yards per carry. They may need some sacks to get it done, but I'm okay with that. But this is not sack adjusted. No, Tom, to answer your next question, we do not. This is just straight out. What does the box score say? It says 3.8, 3.9, even, and no rounding up. Do not round up. If you are not at least 4 yards per carry on the nose or above, there's no 3.99. I don't know how many carries it would take to break that way. But Oregon will be held under 4 yards per carry. Tom, go ahead and rate the boldness.
Well, since they did literally that against Fresno State last week.
Different defenses, though.
Yes. Whose defense do you think is better this year? Fresno State's or Ohio State's?
Do you want me to answer that?
I kind of do, actually.
I'll tell you after this week.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you to Chernobyl this one. And when I say Chernobyl this one, do you remember one of the opening scenes of Chernobyl where the guy is looking at the Geiger counter or whatever it was, and he looks and he goes 3.6, not great, not terrible. Now, of course, the number was much higher than that, but it just went, his device only went up to 3.6. So I'm going to ask you to, in order to not make this embarrassing for yourself, where you're just predicting a bunch of stuff that happened last week to happen again this week, I would like you to Chernobyl the number. I would like you to say no better than 3.6, not great, not terrible. Your thoughts?
No better than 3.73.
I thought we weren't rounding.
We're going precise here because I need this.
3.73. All right. Well, that's fine.
If they get 3.74, I am going to be so mad.
Imagine the delight that I will have on next week's show if I have talked you down
to 100, and it's 100. Yes, that's fantastic, Tom. Good job. Good effort.
All right. Next, so 3.731. I don't know how many carries it would take to get to that far out on the significant digits, but man, that will be my favorite show we've ever done. Number 4, Oregon had 4 sacks in week 1. 4 sacks in week 1 against Fresno State. But of course, as we all know, Fresno State is not as good as Ohio State. So I would never just pick them to have 4 sacks or less because Ohio State's better than Fresno State. As we all know, I'm no coward. I'm not simply going to predict something that happened last week to happen again this week. They average close to 3 per game since the start of the 2019 season, 2.71, since we're taking digits out there. My prediction, they have no more than 1 sack against Ohio State.
That's pretty bold because Ohio State generally gives up about 2 sacks a game. I think they did that last year. And so I will, and we don't know the status of Kayvon Thibodeau at the time of this recording. Obviously, Tom thinks he's going to play, and he thinks Ohio State, won't be able to handle him at least once. But Tom, and again, I will. Yes, this is bold. I'm just telling you why it's not going to happen. Oregon throws a lot of blitzes out there. So you're asking some possibly inexperienced running backs to pick those blitzes up, a young quarterback to see those blitzes. If they hold Oregon to 1 sack or less even, then boy, I don't want to say it's like a 3 touchdown win, but I think it's certainly a win.
It would certainly be an encouraging sign for Ohio State. And, the other thing you could do there is that means your running game's probably staying on schedule. So you're not getting yourself into predictable passing situations. That too would be good news for Ohio State. So yeah, I think if this happens, Ohio State wins almost certainly. It would take something really crazy happening for Ohio State to get sacked 1 or 0 times and not win the game. But yeah, I think, and this could end up 2, and they would still feel pretty good about where they are for the game. But yeah, I'm going to say 0-1 because I am still actually taking the bold part of the bold predictions seriously, out of respect for the listeners and viewers, unlike others. Go ahead, Tony. What's your next one?
I'm gonna skip the next one. We'll come back to it because it is something that has already happened this season. But by the time we get to it, you will have forgotten about that. Jackson Smith-Njigba will score a touchdown this week. You know what? I'm just gonna say he's gonna score. I don't want to eliminate.
He might kick a PAT. He might have a safety.
I don't want to eliminate because it would be very anger-inducing if that did happen, and rather than him just scoring a touchdown. So I'll just say he will score this week. He's due. I know it's just game 2, but he's due. And I think there's going to be a lot of focus on Olave and Garrett Wilson. And I also think they're going to score as well, but that's you can only predict that so many times before you have to okay, enough. We get it. They're going to score. Just try to talk about somebody else. So I'm going to try to talk about Jackson Smith-Njigba. And I think now is the time that Oregon's pass defense, they will get some help back this week with DJ James, the corner, and Jamal Hill, the nickelback. Hill was the starter last year, nickelback. Those guys have been out for their airsoft gun incident. They're back on the organizational chart this week, the depth chart. So I assume they will play, but I mean, you've got to attack the secondary anyway, and play action, all that stuff. They didn't really feature Jackson Smith-Njigba against Minnesota. I think this will be an opportunity to do that. And when I say feature, I mean, how many touchdowns did KJ Hill score inside the 5-yard line at Ohio State? I mean, out of that slot receiver spot. So I could see that happening. And I think that's where, that was where Jackson Smith-Njigba caught his only touchdown last year, was inside that red zone. Now it would also require Ohio State to actually get to the red zone, which I think they did just once last week. But I'm going JSN will score. Could be safety, could be touchdown, extra point, field goal, 2-point conversion.
You had me right until 2-point conversion. I was like, oh, that is absolutely how it's going to happen. Like, oh, yeah. This is the problem. This is the issue. This one was Jackson Smith-Njigba scores a touchdown is like that is exactly in the spirit of this exercise, because it's like it doesn't sound that bold, but it's like you go through, it's like, yes, but how often does a receiver score a touchdown? Like, not that often. Like, on average, it's going to happen less than 50% of the time. And you just keep coming these little, like, well, your every one of your predictions just sounds like the legal disclaimer at the end of an ad. Like, yeah, no purchase necessary.
Been doing this a long time, man.
I'm learning this the hard way. Yes, I have to weasel my way into getting more of these correct. But yes, I think this is maybe the first one you've had that I was like, all right, this is extremely in the spirit of this exercise. So I will allow it. That's good.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
I accept your apology.
Number 5. And I was feeling a lot better than about this before your first 4 predictions were like Ohio State will kick the ball off at some point. Ohio State will, the band will play at halftime. But number 5, after finishing 4 questions worse than you last week, I cut that in half to no worse than 2 questions behind you this week.
You can't predict you can't have bold predictions about your bold predictions. That's no. Plus, it involves math. So you can totally get it wrong and you'd be like, I got it right. I'm like, well, I guess you did. I have no way of knowing.
The funny thing is where we get stuck in a feedback loop where you have like 3 right and I have, or you have 4 right and I have 1 right. But then if the fifth one's right, then it's 2. So therefore it's, yeah. So it's like it's either right or wrong. And the whole point is we get stuck in a feedback loop and then we can't evaluate the results next week. So that's fine. Fine. If we can't do that, that's fine.
Give me that one again, Tom.
Jeremy Ruckert triples his number of receptions from a week ago, getting at least 3 catches. It's the year of the tight end, Tony. I'm gonna have a Jeremy Ruckert prediction every week until I get one right. 3. 1, 2, 3. 3 catches.
Well, I mean, hey, God bless you. Maybe one day it's gonna. When you said Jeremy Ruckert triples, I was gonna think, oh, you're going 15, huh? You think you're gonna triple down on your 5 catch prediction from last week and go 15. Now that would be bold. 3 for an Ohio State tight end, still pretty bold, but it feels kind of like I don't know, not a cop out, but you've come back with your hat in hand and said, okay, I realize asking for $10 an hour was too much. I will accept $4 an hour. And so that's what you have done. And is it bold? It's bold enough. I mean, how many times did he do that last year? How many times has he done that in his career? Off the top of my head, I will say 3. And I could probably check that and verify, but that's not what we do on this show. Not especially not bold predictions. So 3, I will accept that. Yeah, okay. And but I also think, well, it's very possible. It's quite likely, or else we wouldn't be saying, hey, this could happen. So by definition, I will go with that. I will allow that one. My last one, and I have to decide which one to use because the one I want, you'll just be like, blah, 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 blah. And I felt like, well, that would also help the show. And it's still bold because it's not necessarily going to happen every week.
There will be a pickup truck commercial during the broadcast for, oh, wow, Tony, it's crazy. That's crazy talk. Never. What? No.
And I realized what I'm about to predict happened twice last week.
In only one game. Yes, go on.
But it's not supposed to happen all of the time. A running back will have at least one play of 38 yards or more. That's big play. And I'm not saying it could just be Ohio State. It could be an Oregon running back. It could be a catch. It could be a kickoff return. It could be a punt return. It could be a halfback pass. And yes, if it's a halfback pass, the passing yards, that still counts because they are still involved in that. 38 yards or more. I don't think it'll be Mayan Williams. Maybe it'll be Travion Henderson with that 89-yarder we're looking for and just the 89-yarder. But Tom, I know what you're going to say. And yes, it did happen twice last week. It doesn't happen all the time. Just because it's happening all the time so far this year doesn't mean it's going to keep happening. I've done this a long time, and I've gotten this one wrong a lot. Have I gotten it wrong right sometimes? Yes, that's why I use it. All right. But you got to use it in the right times, at the right times against the right defenses. Pac-12 defenses, pretty good time to use it. So that's what I'm going to do. I chose that one over a couple of others that we can get to after you tell me how much you hate the lack of boldness about me predicting almost a 100-yard play by an Ohio State or Oregon running back.
Because of the way Zoom works, I have to talk right now in order to get the camera on me so the listeners can see the look of contempt on my face.
You said content?
I did not, in fact, say content. I said contempt. Yes. Yeah, that's if you want to ruin this segment and you want it to turn into next week, I know a quarterback will have a pass longer than that travels through the air longer than 4 yards.
What?
Now, no. I didn't say which team, and I didn't say the pass had to be completed, and I didn't say 4 yards downfield. It could go sideways
or backwards.
Now, then it's a lateral. Come on, I'm not trying to game the system, Tony. If that's a lateral, that's a fumble. That's not a pass. We know how this works. I just want you to think about the listeners at home and how disappointed they are because they clicked on something that said bold predictions, and you're like, oh. Someone will do something in a football manner. They will be wearing 2 shoes at the time.
But Tom, by your logic, if I say a running back will have at least one play of 70 yards, you'll be like, well, they both did that last week. That's not bold.
I'll tell you what, you go one lower than that and I will allow it.
No running backs?
No. Make a nice prediction or get out.
How about if I up the 38 to, I'll go.
You're going to say like 41 and I'm just going to end the Zoom call.
I'll go 49. That's my limit. It's bold. That's bold. And that's as high as I will go. 48 yards.
A running back will have a play of 49 yards.
That's a lot. And now I'm going to be very angry because I know it's not going to happen. And they will get one of 38 yards or more. They're going to be in that sweet spot of 38 to 48 yards. And good job, Tom. You've done your job here in trying to tear me down and build you up through no fault of my own. You're not even going to get closer by building yourself up. You're just trying to bring me down to your level. And we'll see if you can get anything right. Although that 220 yards rushing and passing, it's guaranteed to happen. So you yell at me. I think, sir, yell at yourself.
I am predicting things that didn't happen last week. And you're predicting literally everything that happened last week. Like last week's game, nothing will change. All right, cool. Good.
But Tom, we know history does not repeat itself.
Not sure that's actually how that saying goes, but that's okay. Yeah, I mean, we all see what's going on here, and that's fine. That's fine. If that's how we want to play the game, that's fine. But yes, I feel like we need to probably define the term bold a little more carefully next week. But
and again, Tom,
we'll get there next week.
These have always been just predictions. You brought the boldness to them, and we're trying to meet somewhere in the middle. But also, I do have to have a level of boldness because, again, there has to be some mystery to it. Also, I've only ever really gotten 40% of these right over the years. So clearly, these aren't all shoe-ins. I did have a couple of others that I left out. Garrett Wilson will outscore Chris Olave. Cody Simon will have at least 7 tackles. And the linebackers will have at least 2.5 tackles for loss.
Okay. Which linebackers?
The linebackers. The Ohio State linebackers.
Yes, that's the question. Are we saying the Ohio State linebackers? Or are we saying
and Cody Simon could be the Oregon Cody Simon, or the Ohio State Cody Simon, or any other Cody Simon in college football?
Mm-hmm. Buffalo Bill Cody and Paul Simon. Yes,
all Simons or Codys together will combine for at least 7 tackles this week.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the linebackers one. You want to make the linebackers one of your bold predictions and remove one of the more cowardly ones? I'd be fine with that. The Ohio State linebackers will have.
I'll tell you what. I will remove the Oregon will be held under 4 yards per carry if that will make you feel better. But you have to give me 38 yards from the running backs.
No deal. and it's Oregon will be held under 3.73. 7.3, yes, or 7.
Okay, I'll tell you what. I will go linebackers 2.5 tackles for loss. We'll take out the running back. We'll have at least one play of 49 yards. How's that sound?
That's good. That was one of your more cowardly ones. So yes,
I disagree honestly, but we'll see because now I don't think it's going to happen because I don't think they're going to get there. I really like this Oregon defense.
I am really excited for the first time. Any player who has ever played running back at any level has a play of longer than 49 yards, and I'm just going to text you the in-your-face Space Coyote GIF, and it's going to be great. And I'm really looking forward. That's what I'm now most excited about for Saturday. Like the return of the crowds and the bands and the pageantry and the whatever. In-your-face Space Coyote, it's coming, and I'm so excited.
What I'm excited for is that tackle for loss that takes me from 2 to 2.5 or something like that. And I will, even though I will be busy at work, I will text you some sort of an emoji with what they need is an emoji with a crotch chop. I don't know if they have those. I may work on one of those and then just continue to text that to you, like even during post game, and that will be my thank you to you for goading me into going with that one and taking out one that's now not going to happen. So I hope you are happy. And when I go 4 or 5-0 again, like I did last week, and you go 12, just remember this day, rue this day, because it will be your downfall.
I am well into brewing already. So yeah, we're this podcast going great, and I can't wait to do it. Can't wait to do this 15 more times this year. It's going fantastic so far.
All right, that will do it then. I think. Did you have any others that you left off, or did you just go with 5 because you didn't need any more?
I said these are my guys. I'm not. I'm not bringing extras. We don't need extras. This is what we got.
You'll learn. You might sometimes want to bring some extras, but I'm not going to tell you how to do it, even though clearly you should listen. Anyway, that will do it for this episode. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for watching. As always, check out BuckeyeScoop.com. If you are not yet a member, please become one. If you are a member, you know why we keep telling people to become a member. Also, you can find us at youtube.com/BuckeyeScoop for every episode of Buckeye Weekly, for every episode of Tom's Morning Scoop, and every episode of every other podcast that we drop on the Buckeye Scoop podcast network. So thank you guys for listening. Hope we didn't bring you down too much with Tom's predictions, but maybe next week we can do something that actually maybe he will bring some boldness to it. So thank you guys, and we will talk to you later.